Alright guys, so the Vivo Nex dual screen, and first I apologize for being a little under the weather still, but the Vivo Nex dual screen, the attempt to eliminate having a front camera is done with this device. So in order to achieve bezel-less designs, companies have to go to the extreme, and after using this phone for a little over 24 hours or so, this is probably the best iteration of how to do this. They've got a speaker on the front and back. You can basically use the phone on either side. And the front of the display, though, has a 6.4-inch display, no cutouts, no nothing, just a speaker grill for phone calls or whatever. And the other side of the phone has a 5.5-inch display, which houses the 3 cameras and all the rest of the sensors and everything. And it also has a speaker for making phone calls and everything like that. So a lot of you guys asked in a previous video, Jay, what's the purpose of having 2 screens? Well, I find it strange that people are asking this because there's no way that you guys don't know a reason to have 2 screens or, pretty much looking at the device. It only has one set of cameras. So this is, to me, the best implementation of having a full screen display and not having a front camera. The rear cameras on this thing, or the cameras on this thing, are just absolutely great. I'm not using any external microphones or anything. This is just all coming directly from the device. And there's 3 cameras on here. There's a main 12 megapixel, a 2 megapixel, and that's going to be used obviously for the depth sensors. But there's also a time of flight camera on here as well. And basically what that is you can manipulate the scene real time with the time of flight. So if I want to make my face bigger, skinnier, eyes bigger, chin, forehead, it'll adjust any of that real time. And I think that's pretty cool to have that feature. And it's so strange that, it's unfortunate that this phone isn't a phone that's officially released in the US, because this is innovation to me. When I had the Vivo Nex S, I felt like that was innovation with the pop-up camera. Very durable phone, very sweet, offers so much more than the other devices on the market at the time. But this, to me, is a great way to have a single set of cameras. You can turn on both displays, and you won't need anybody to help you with the device. So when I say you can turn on both displays, so I'm shooting this video right now with both displays going. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to use the rear camera. I want to use the cameras as quote-unquote rear cameras. And if you do it as a selfie type of video, you lose the ability to do 60 frames per second. And I think that's kind of strange, but that's just the way they have it. But because there's only one set of cameras. So I'm doing it this way because I decided to shoot in 60 frames per second for this part of the video. But it's not a bad thing. It's just I was kind of wondering why they did it like that. But the cameras do shoot in 4K, 1080p, and 720p. You can do 60 frames per second at 1080p and 720p. You can't do it at 4K, but nonetheless, the footage that's coming from this thing is killer. And the quality from the recording of the microphones, everything is spot on. This would be a great phone to use for YouTube. And the reason I say that is because I have a lot of phones that I would love to use for YouTube, but sometimes the footage comes out wrong, and the exposures are all wrong. But these quality cameras right here are just really, really good. So I wanted to show you how this would be in this setting. And in all honesty, I've already used this phone to shoot a YouTube video, and you guys didn't even blink. You didn't say, "Are you using a new camera?" I guess you guys just assumed I was using my DSLR. But nonetheless, photos that come from this thing are absolutely great. Video footage that comes from this is absolutely stunning. I'll show you some photos right now. My intent was to do everything separately, but I decided to just do it like this, so you can see the footage from the photos and how they actually look. Now, I will end the video showing you a separate video clip, but these cameras on this device are absolutely stunning, and the way they did it for using a single set of cameras, I think is the best. This is just a great experience with this phone. The ring around the camera that you see, it does light up for different reasons, like charging or messages and things like that. But there's also 2 LEDs around the ring separately, and they light up. If I were to turn them on, they would be bright in my face to help illuminate the area if I didn't have any light. This camera does have night mode, all the features pretty much what you got come to know in, I guess, the iPhone, with all the studio lighting and stereo lighting. Those features are all in this camera, and I think it does a great job. Not just because of those features, but the camera quality itself, I think, is really, really solid. So I don't foresee myself not liking this camera to use on YouTube, because I've already shot several videos with it, and you guys didn't blink, you didn't budge, you didn't even notice that I was using this phone. And I like to do that sometimes. I like to use phones instead of my DSLR, not to trick you, but just to show you the quality of devices, and what you could do with the right setting, how you could produce some really good YouTube footage. So I've also learned that with these cameras, there is no limit. You can record as long as you want in 60 frames per second at 1080p or 720p or even 4K. I recorded a very long video and it didn't overheat. There was no problems with it. I just haven't had a problem with the phone as far as the cameras go. So I wanted to give you a camera review, and I also close out this video with a separate video sample outside, because I think you guys would probably want to see how beautiful this phone could do. So it's your man Jay. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. So here is 4K. The great part about the video I just did is that if you need help with this phone, it'll eliminate that, because basically what I did was I turned on both displays. So if you really don't have to do a selfie video, if you will, because if you do it as a selfie video, you lose the capability of shooting at 60 frames per second, which is kind of strange, but you do. So I just used it. There's a button on there to turn on both displays. That way you can see yourself on the rear, on the other side. So I still have the ability to shoot at 1080p or 4K or whatever. You can shoot 4K as a selfie video, but you just lose the ability to do 60 frames per second. This weather down here is not helping either, because it's like 30 degrees, 20 degrees at night. And then during the day, it's like this, 70 degrees. It's beautiful out here. It's crazy. This is January weather. But this is the type of footage that you can expect. So let's grab some footage of these colorful trees right here. It's really bright, so it's kind of difficult to catch it, but I think the phone is doing very well. So there you have it, folks. That's the video footage from this device.